Welcome, my friends, to the NJC AA Esports Overwatch Grand Finals. My name is Jeff. I'm alongside Jag. We're here to tell you the story of our two collegiate squads battling it out for the title of champion.
Absolutely. We had so many teams at the beginning of the season. Now we are down to the final two. Number 4, West Chester Community College versus number 14, Brighton Stratton College from Virginia. And, you look at those two seedings. That's not what you expect in a grand final, but it just shows you, the regular season, you can put it behind you. You can make a run in the playoffs. And here we are. It doesn't matter what they started with now. They're both in the finale, the grand finals, and only one of them will walk away as our champions.
And West Chester, they are no strangers to this. They are your champions from fall 2020. Their inaugural year as a squad. They came out and dominated and took the whole thing. Now with a fresh set of faces, 4 freshmen coming into the 2021 season. But and they have the higher seeding. But looking at the SR difference, it seems like they've got quite a mountain to climb going up against Bryant and Stratton.
Yeah, it's really interesting. They also had a great run in the latter half of 2021, made it all the way to the semifinals, didn't end up getting the back-to-back championship, but their current roster ranks from gold to grandmaster, so that is a great variety. That's about 2,000 SR difference between their lowest and highest player. On the other side, the Bobcats, this is their 4th year as a varsity program, and this is a roster comprised completely of players who made the jump from console to PC, which I think is a really cool fact right there. But their team averages from high masters to high GM. The difference there about 700 SR, and that masters player you and I were talking about, it might be just that they don't play competitive anymore. They're at 3,900 on the dot. That's where the reset is every season. So they could be a masters player, just hasn't had the time to go into comp before the season started. That is a very dangerous squad on paper.
Absolutely. And each of those 100 SR between 3,900 and 4,600 get exponentially more difficult to obtain. So, I mean, we were looking at Main Tank Cybers, one I'm keeping an eye on. He's your 4,600 player. That is, I mean, top 500 on the ladder. I mean, yeah, precisely. Injustice, so the freshman is going to be your main support there, is the one at 3,900. Maybe just scrims now, just plays with the team and just does scrims and perhaps pugs or something within the school. Just avoids ranked at this point. I mean, understandable. I've heard of competitive players doing that before. So certainly looking lethal here on paper. These people have made these players who've made the adaptation, the PS4 to PC thing. That is awesome to find an entire squad of it. I think that's worth reiterating and highlighting again, because that's a difficult move to make, particularly if they're not used to playing other games on PC. If this is some of their first foray into PC gaming, it could be a difficult transition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was a player that originally started on console, made my way to PC. I was high diamond when I left console, and I placed gold on PC when I first started. Eventually made my way back to diamond, but it took quite a little bit of time. Like you said, if you've never played on a keyboard and mouse before, even though you know the game, you've got that game sense, you know how the characters work, just learning, it's basically learning how to ride a bike for the second time. It's very
Right.
difficult being able to climb the ladder once more, be able to reach these highs. That is insane, especially in what I'm assuming is not a great amount of time, considering this program has only been around for about a year or so now. But I mean, regardless, I think this is going to be a tall task, as we talked about, for the other side, for West Chester. But I don't want to give them, I don't want to be, like not sold on them quite yet. I think that we talked about this before for the other side, for the Bobcats, maybe they just are more scrim players. It could be the same thing for the other team as well. You never know. Rank is not everything. I think synergy and camaraderie can be better sometimes in a competitive environment when you're playing as a 6-person squad. There's a lot that can go right for you if you have that synergy, despite the fact that your rank isn't as good. So, especially considering the fact that they are the higher seed, we'll have to see how that ends up. But we do know what our first map is going into the series. It's going to be Lijiang Tower.
Oh, big surprise there. I think it's kind of the classic starting map for Overwatch. And that was a fixed map, I do believe. We will go loser pick from there in our first to 3 series. So you go down early, you have a chance to go to a battleground of your choosing, kind of fits your style. But kind of rotating back to what we were talking about with West Chester, I mean, they did something right to get into the grand finals. Like, just because
Higher
they have
seed
golden
too.
plat players, they clearly have something really, really solid going for them. And it can be something as simple as being able to counter pick or just using very smart compositions. And these are things that don't necessarily get you rank or SR when you're trying to push up the ladder, but can serve you extremely well in a competitive environment.
Yeah, and I think going into this first map, it's also a map that's been played throughout the entirety of playoffs. It's always been Lijiang Tower as the starting map, so they have a lot of practice on this. As you said, compositions, they can be the name of the game. They can put you ahead early on. We're going to have to see what they bust out. It looks like it's going to be Bit of brawl comps. I'm really interested to see if Cyber stays on the Winston. That would be a very unique comp if they stick to it. On one side, I'd say the more traditional brawl comp, the Mei, the Cassidy, the Lucio, the Bap. Sigma instead of a Diva, so a little bit less eating ability, a little bit more shield. But it looks like on their side, no, it's actually going to be a Shadow Dive comp. So they're going to be running in with dive tanks, but they're going to be playing it like a brawl. Just the only difference is that they can jump up places with their tanks.
Yeah, I also noticed his mana. That's kind of what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting he'll be able to stick on that Reinhardt. And they are wasting no time. This Brian Stratton composition wants to play fast and get picks as quick as they can, focusing down targets. But they seem a little tentative. They haven't quite found the target they're looking for. The teams are battling out over the courtyard to start. Both Lucio's off the battlefield. And here comes the difference maker as Westchester Community College slowly makes their way to the point, throws up an Ant Matrix to try to fend off Brian and Stratton, but Slater's already teleported into the back, looking for that Baptiste, and we'll find it with a little help from Aurelius, or excuse me, from Cyber. And then there it goes. The stones start to fall. Without the Baptiste, the sustain is just not there.
Yeah, the thing about Moira is that she dumps so much healing, especially with her orb. It can be a damage maker or a healing orb. In that case, they just had enough to sustain through the Ant Matrix. They could kind of go around it because they have all this mobility, and that's one ultimate off the table now set. That flex where they're going to have their coalescence ready to go, and that could open things up right away.
Do have Blizzard coming online on the other side. If they can survive long enough to get it out, could be the difference maker. But Set moving into this tiny hallway with that light beam of death, just put so much hurt. Shatter tried to bring this thing back, and 3 kills as a result of it. Cinnamon Cube turning the tide from a -2 deficit to a +2 for Westchester Community College with one single swing of the hammer.
That's the thing about a Reinhardt against the Winston. The side there. It's a really good shatter, but they chase the Winston all the way into the backline, don't even get the kill. They haven't taken over the point, despite the fact that they kind of won that fight. Now there's time for a recontest and a stall.
Yep, and Brian and Stratton are already back into this thing, and here come the kills. Death Blossom onto the point, picks up 2, including the Baptiste. The Blizzard comes out, but it is too little too late to try to stave off the aggression. Brian and Stratton with a beautiful, well, it wasn't even a retake. They just came in and contest.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a last-second contest. Cyber stays alive long enough. It's a good enough distraction. Westchester, they chase that down instead of playing the point. They do force out quite a bit of ultimates. They force out basically everything that Brian and Stratton had there, but they still need to actually get onto the point.
I mean, Ant Matrix to try to buy that room. Everlong coming in with the dupe. Doesn't last a whole long. Going in that double damage. Not even the Reinhardt health pool was enough to really survive that. But Westchester are struggling to get out of this corner. A lot of heals being dumped down. They've even got to invest the sound barrier to try to get out of this room, and to no avail as Cyber goes in angry this time, and not even the Earth Shatter from Cinnamon Cube is going to stop Brian and Stratton in this final push.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any chance they can test. That's going to be Night Market 110% going to Bryant and Stratton College. A very nice performance by the Bobcats. A little bit of luck there, considering that they didn't have to go for a recontest. Besides that first initial cap from Westchester, it was their point the entire time. I think this could have been a much more competitive first round if Westchester had gone for the point capture instead of going for that last elimination. Those kind of decisions can really be make or break, especially in a championship match.
Brian and Stratton were so fast, too. That's part of the decision-making, part of the difference between GM and the rest of the ranks is how quick you make those decisions. And Brian and Stratton knew exactly how they wanted to execute. Well done. And now coming out here with more of the brawl style, if you kind of the narrow definition between brawl and rush, but using the Doomfist alongside Cyber on the Reinhardt, they're gonna get on this point real quick, utilizing a symmetric teleport.
I gotta watch out for the Junkrat. That's a lot of spam damage, but if they get some one-tap punches, it could be all they need to take this point. Already, they're positioning themselves off that high ground.
And there's that one-tap punch you're talking about. But Slater has to sacrifice themselves for it, and both teams missing a DPS. Brian and Stratton have position on the objective. Hasn't quite unlocked yet. There it goes, and here comes the progress. So there's an Ant Matrix up from the White Room, and it's forced Brian and Stratton to rotate out of there. They're going to drop an Ant Matrix of their own and try to retaliate. The OBL is taking a lot of damage as Brian and Stratton are trying to push forward. Slater has returned to the fight in a big way, picks up a 2-piece, and that's going to start the dominoes of falling.
Yeah, and it was such a good rotation from Westchester. They're able to avoid the MHs that came out from Brian and Stratton after laying down their own. They also had high ground advantage, which is really great when you have a Junkrat, but they just could not get enough focus fire there. Slater comes back in, able to get 2 kills right off the bat. You got to deal with this Doomfist, or they can take complete control of this game.
But so dangerous alongside of Reinhardt as well. There you go. Void is able to deal with it, and that is the go signal. Void does have a Riptire in the pocket. It's going to be a photon barrier from Brian Stratton as they look to hold on. Gravitic Flux from the other way, but oh, that Riptire lands true. Big 4K from Void.
I don't think that's a combination I've ever seen before, and honestly, we should see it more. That was awesome. Lifts them right into the air. You can get a lot of air with that Riptire. Just launch it straight up into the Gravitic Flux, and that's a full team wipe. Slater comes back in, but to no avail. Can't contest it for long enough. You know, Westchester, this is where they look the most dangerous, I'd say, because if they have advantage here, they could just continue to spam through, but that teleporter makes them turn around.
Shatter's gonna get blocked. Cybers makes it through and finding both supports. Oh, YSP gets punched out of the sound barrier. It goes to waste. No shield, no value. And Slater is dominating alongside Everlong. 2 DPS from Bright, and Stratton just makes short work of that hole.
Everlong, one of my favorite songs by the Foo Fighters, now one of my favorite DPS players here. A great teleporter. It was a complete fake out. You saw just a slight hesitation from Cinnamon Cube. They all turned around, and it let them just walk right in.
Oh, nice. Teleporter just to get out of the way of that Ant Matrix. Aurelius throwing that one to waste. At least force Brian and Stratton back. Maybe Westchester could set him up for this Deadeye coming through from Alfan. Moving over to this white room. Has a lot of targets in sight. Just going to break this shield first. OBL self-destruct kind of falls short. I think was intending to throw it up into that white room area and maybe got moved out of it or something. Now the Deadeye finally comes out. There's a lamp up and another shatter. 5-man this time for Cyber. Gonna push on and finish off Cinnamon Cube. And Westchester Community College now caught in a dangerous corner. Easy pickings for Slater.
When you have a Doomfist this talented, it is so deadly. It's so dangerous. It's so hard to deal with. And you really need something that's anti-dive, like a Torbjorn, a Sombra, something to shut it down. They do lose their Lucio, and Justice is down, but no one can touch. And that is a 2-0 win on this first snap for Brighton Stratton starting off this series. Very strong. They do give up about 35% overall between 2 points, but it was a very one-sided affair besides that.
Yeah, this was the one play. This was kind of the one bright spot for Westchester was this Gravitic Flux Tire combo. And a great combo at that. Can't argue with it. But it was all Bright and Stratton. Otherwise, a clean 2-0 victory on Lijiang to put them up one in the series. Oh, but you know, like we mentioned before, it's gonna be Westchester's map pick, so they can take this to a map that suits their style. I'm anxious to see if they stick with these brawl comps, so you utilize them in both of our sub maps of Lijiang Tower. So yeah, headed into hybrid next. I'm very curious if we go to the classic Kings Row or what other of our other 2 maps are in our pool.
Yeah, Hollywood and Nimbani are the other 2 rounding it up, and my guess is it's going to be Kings Row because everyone loves to play it. It's probably the favorite map of any in Overwatch, I would say, at least competitive-wise. Maybe there's some death matches in there that people perform more, but when it comes to this, Kings Row kind of the classic. It's also one of the best maps in the game for the Reinhardt composition. I remember at one point there was kind of the Wrecking Ball attempts. Like 2, maybe a year and a half ago is where we saw that, but really now it's been all Ryan all the time. And if they liked it so much on Lijiang where you can do a variety of different things, my guess is they'll probably go there. I think the least likely is Nimbani. Nimbani is a dive map until that 3rd point. Right. And Hollywood, you can run the Ryan, you can run double shield, you can also run just Wrecking Ball comp. So there's a lot of variety there, I would say, but I would say Kings Row definitely would be what I would suggest unless they're able to bring out something else here.
And Kings Row was the 2nd map ever made in Overwatch. It was designed around Reinhardt, which also makes it a very strong Mei map as well, about the same width on those Mei walls as a Ryan shield. So you can do the classic section off the tank, split them from the back line, and they won't be able to heal or retreat. So definitely the strongest of those 3 is for Brawl. And so that's what I'm anticipating. Like you mentioned, Hollywood is just the high ground. Even on Nimbani, the high ground is just so important that it makes it tough. You have to have really smart rotations with a Brawl comp to make it work on those other 2 maps.
The one thing I will say, though, is that from the information we got, Cinnamon Cube does consider themselves a Wrecking Ball main. So, maybe it was more of a team decision to try to run the Reinhardt for Lijiang Tower. Maybe it's worked in the past. It's really hard to switch those compositions. Usually you got to do it after the first fight. And because of how both of the rounds went, it was never one-sided really until the end. They had 2 back-to-back caps of it swapping, and then he was really close early on, and then once it got rolling for Brian and Stratton, nothing could really slow them down. Here on Kings Row, a lot more time to potentially change things up if they want. You were right, we were right, I guess. The May, the Reinhardt, going to come out again. Bottom 500, going to stay on the Sigma, which is a really interesting choice. I feel like D.Va kind of been the best partner for Reinhardt lately. Zarya is another option. Sigma's not, out of the equation for sure. Double shield can work out for you, but you lose a lot of what D.Va is, which is flying around. She's got a lot of mobility, and her EAT is better. You can still, absorb abilities from your opponents with Sigma, with his kinetic grasp, but it's not nearly as good as a defensive matrix.
I will say Sigma does put out more damage. Alongside the accretion rock and those hyperspheres. Assuming you can, land them all. Look at that. Cyber eats the brunt of it immediately. Was fortunate to get out of there alive and went below 100 at one point, and bottom 500, making good use of that damage already. Immortality Field is forced out, but the heals come through, and Void and Alpha stay alive.
A double bubble comp from Bryant and Stratton really comes down to OBL getting high charge. That's your main damage dealer when it comes to DPS. Might be looking for a Nano Blade with their Ana and Genji, but that's going to take a bit of time to build up here.
Yeah, Set needs to get this Nano as quickly as humanly possible. Which kind of puts the Otis on Cyber to get in and manage their bubble, manage their own health pool. You see the bubble coming out there, and Cyber's just going to back up, and that Nano is ready to go. Could put this onto the Winston, but no, going to go ahead and put it onto Slater, try to build the rest of his blade. Dive it into the back line, forces the Immortality Field out of Aurelius, and eventually kills start piling up. Cyber's able to pop that Primal Rage, follow the Cyber Ninja in, and that is a quick point A coming through. Only took him 2 fights to do it.
Yeah, and the first one was only 1 elimination. All they got was the Brigitte, and Justice fell. Everyone else backed up. So besides the Am Matrix, that Aurelius has been great at building up, which isn't surprising because they are the one Grandmaster player on the side of Westchester. There's not a ton to work with. This time, they could be able to hold at the gate if they're quick enough here. They do have the Mail, they have a Gravitic Flux, they have an Earthshatter almost ready to go, as well as almost a Sound Barrier. So there's a lot that's almost online, but almost isn't good enough, especially when this comp moves so quickly as the one that Brian and Stratton's does.
And it's going to be the Graviton Searchman will be able to start things off. The Dragons coupled with the classic combo countered by the Sound Barrier, but then there's just more and more damage coming through. Everlong able to outlast the Shatter from Cinnamon Cube, and Brian and Stratton continue to march forward.
Yeah, that was an Earthshatter that was coming into there too. Cinnamon Cube dies in the animation, doesn't actually land it on anything. Even if it had hit, that could have been huge. That could have turned the fight around. That almost did on parts of Lijiang Tower. Instead, they commit a Sound Barrier as well to try to sustain. They don't. But again, their Ulpics still looking really good. 4 ultimates at their disposal. Try to combo the Cassidy, Deadeye with the Gravitic Flux. You could just try to go for the May Blizzard right away. There's a lot that can go right here, but also a lot that can go wrong if you don't hit Q quick enough, because that Nano Blade is locked and loaded.
This is an important fight for Westchester. If they can win this one, they can eat a lot of time off the clock, holding the back of point B. But there's that Nano Blade that you were warning about. And there it is. Slater's already chopped down 1, chopped down 2. There's a 3rd. Slater able to kill half the team with that Katana. Brian and Stratton are going to pick up point B.
Yeah, and Void does get a nice Blizzard, gets 2, but it's not enough. There's not enough time for the recontest. And the Bobcats are just going to keep rolling on here on Kings Row. 5 minutes looking very nice. Not going to swap up anything just yet. I feel like if there's any point they would swap their combo up, this would be it, but they feel pretty good on it. They still have another Primal that's ready to go, so they could get some really nice elemental kills or off the side kills, some boops is what I'm trying to say here. And everything Westchester had has been used except for that Deadeye combination with the Grid Flux, so they gotta use it here. They gotta play a little bit faster. They cannot play reactive. That is why they're lost so many of these fights.
Absolutely agree. Just not quite playing at the same tempo Brian Stratton are bringing to the table, and are having a hard time adjusting to it. It's Cyber going into the back with that Primal Rage. Looking for those boosts. Looks like they got one. They did. Outfit goes into the pit. Courtesy of Cyber, the angry hammer hot fists of that Winston. Gravitic Flux coming through, trying to bring it back the other way. They can't quite whittle down the Brigitte. Just too much healing from Set and Injustice, and that Inspire heals, which is too much to handle. Now the Graviton Surge, comboed with the Dragons once again, is enough to close it out. Brian and Stratton lost their very first fight when Injustice went down, but did not lose a single one after that.
Yeah, and the crazy thing again about that fight was that it was just one person. That's all it took, and it was a very smart call by Brian and Stratton to reset. Most of them were behind the Maywall. I think that was trying to cut off Cyber anyway, but Cyber has that jetpack, is able to jump out, And, you know, as Winston does, just lives longer than you think they will. And then from there, every fight was won by them. Ultimate rotation was amazing. They constantly were pressing Q. The Grav Dragons were up at the beginning of that point 2 take, up again at the very end. Didn't even need the Dragons, really. I feel like that Grav was more just to lock them into place to make sure they couldn't contest. And, you know, the kills after that, the eliminations, that's just free real estate, baby.
You might as well,
Moving
right?
on into this. Yeah.
You might as well just throw the Dragons on top. You're going to finish anyway. So, you know, it looks good. The kill feed, pad those stats a little bit, you know.
Exactly. But going into this, now Westchester, they're going to change it up. So I talked about this before. Cinnamon Cube is a self-proclaimed Wrecking Ball main. This is the first time we're going to see them try to use this composition. And they're going to be running into... This is the comp that I saw, actually, like when I was talking about a year and a half ago. This was it. This was a comp that was run at the highest of levels. I was doing a European Contenders like event, and a lot of the Contenders players were running this comp. A lot of the tank players were really like trying to do this split approach with low healing, but it also does a lot of damage on the defense. On the attack, they have the Mercy Pocket, so I'm assuming that's going to be going on to Void with the Echo, but they're going to be running right into Everlong's Ashe, so this is really going to be a battle of those two DPS here.
Yeah, and you can't underestimate the healing coming out of a Brig. It doesn't... It's more than you think it is, right? And Justice could still put out a lot of healing with this kind of... It's a hybrid between a poke comp and a dive comp. So we'll be expecting Cyber and Slater to dive on discorded targets. Let's see how Westchester Community College want to choose to approach, try to break this open. It's Alfin going around to the back, but has a Discord on him. Has to be very careful. Slater could choose to play defensively and just mark the flanks, make sure Alfin doesn't really have room to work. Nope, that's Slater going in deep, looking for those supports. Void putting a couple shots down, does force the recall out, and Slater's got to bail as they have a Discord on their head as well.
Cyber going very aggressive, but on the other side, it's Everlong with 2 assists from the support line, being able to take out Cinnamon Cube, and with that, most of your approach is gone. You need the Wrecking Ball to really get in, and now they're just stuck.
Oh, very awkward position. Cyber's going to take advantage, too. Just goes slams in on their heads. Alphen immediately goes down. Bottom 500 is in a lot of trouble. Mercy is able to make it back there and get the res under Aurelius, but meanwhile, Cinnamon Cube falls for, I believe it is a 3rd time on this attack, and Westchester Community College continuing to struggle to find a way in.
Oh, yeah, nice big kill, though. Oh, but immediately, yeah, it's traded out immediately. So there was a really nice kill onto Everlong. But Void, you can't really do much when everyone else is gone. And again, it looks like it's going to be a bit of a reset here. Just the pace has constantly been set by Bryant and Strad. Now YSP going to swap to a Brig, which means it's going to be better to stop the Wrecking Ball and the Tracer. But it also means Void doesn't have that pocket, doesn't have that extra damage or dedicated healing.
I think it's a good swap, though. You got to do something to try to shut down Cyber and Slater. And the Brig will do a better job of protecting the Zenyatta as well. And the Discord Orb's so important to try to make the rest of this attack work. So I certainly don't mind it. You got a couple trying to work through hotels. Slater marked him and is forced all the way back into the theater. Goes back to grab the Mega and is able to win out the fight. Cyber, meanwhile, drops mines and picks up 3.
Yeah, and you do lose Slater eventually. They do fall, but it doesn't matter. They're the fastest DPS in the game. They can get back very quickly. Probably by the time they respawn, it'll be Westchester respawning as well. They do get Cyber to use those mines. That's a big ultimate off the table. Westchester, they've been struggling to build up their ultimates, but now Aurelius with his Transcendence could do something big. That Pulse Bomb could be big, but it lands onto OBL, who's going to be healed up.
Yeah, OBL went down super low. Looks like sub 50. But ultimately, it just turns into ult charge. Slater drops a Pulse Bomb of their own. Didn't quite hit the mark. Now Brian Stratton running a little dry on ults. Do you have support ults coming online? That rally can be really hard to boss through, particularly for a Tracer. Ooh, nice shot. Aurelius opening things up. It's the Zenyatta who's able to get the advantage over to Westchester Community College. Void looking for something down low, trying to protect the back line, but no, Cyber will not be denied. Discord Orb not enough to bring him down. The rest of Westchester has moved on to the point. They're going to pop a Transcendence to try to sustain through this and see if they can at least finish off this first tick. Here, a big smash coming in is the Gravitic Flux out from OBL. That's a huge Flux. Picks up 2. Mines from Cinnamon Cube, well, just don't seem to be enough to stop this onslaught from Brian and Stratton.
That accretion, onto Void. They can't even get out. That was an amazing play by OBL. This is last fight territory. There will be enough time for the respawn to come through, but Void has one of your only ultimates online right now. You need them to back to the fight really quickly, and because of this, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer than you wanted to set up, and time is everything.
And I think you got to go for a high-risk dupe like the Tracer. Get double Tracers out there and try to just dive in with Cinnamon Cube. We'll see what Void chooses to go with. It's going to be the Brig. Okay, I like that choice as well. It doesn't last. It's set, immediately popping the dome. And this is Brian Stratton with a massive hold-up point. And the 7th man is out. The big Omnic Butler there to celebrate with the rest of the squad with a big full hold and a 2-0 lead.
Wow, that was more one-sided than our control map. There were bright spots for Westchester on Lijiang Tower. They were able to win the first fight here, as you said, but beyond that, it was all Brian Stratton all the way. Even with the picks, they were able to get on to the Ash time and time again. It just wasn't enough. The pace continues to be set by this Bobcat squad, and I don't know if there's anything that can stop them right now. They are feeling themselves. They are feeling this game, and now they are only one map away from getting a clean sweep to become the fall grand champions for the NGC AAE.
I mean, one team fight is all Westchester got. One team fight that was based off of one single pick, and it was all Brian Stratton after that, which was happened coincidentally enough to be the very first team fight of that map. So that was a very one-sided affair, one-way traffic for Brian Stratton. I don't know what Westchester can do to stop this train, this pain train that is just barreling at them. And we're gonna have to wait until the other side of this break window to find out. When we come back, it's Assault. We'll see you in a moment. With a dominant performance on Kings Row, Brian Stratton put themselves on championship point here in the NJC AAE Grand Finals for Overwatch. It's Jeff and Jack back at you, bringing you our Assault map next. We're headed to Volskaya.
Yeah, very interesting choice here by the team that's trying to get back to this right now. Westchester down 0-2. It's been their map pick 2 times in a row. Kings Row, we thought maybe they would have an advantage because they like to play the Reinhardt. Weren't able to get it done there. Full hold plus a full cap from their opponents. Now this is the last time they have to do something here. And I gotta say, I don't feel like this map favors Ryan at all. We saw the double bubble come out from the other side, from those Bobcats, and it looked gnarly. It looked so decisive, and this is a great map for double bubble if you're on the attack. We've seen a lot of our Sigma action on the side of Westchester from the Vikings. I think they got to bust out the Arresa here to try to have a double shield comp, try to go anti-dive, and stop this attack from going through.
I mean, just pull out as much CC as you can.
Exactly.
And the Wrecking Ball Sigma can also work very well on this map that we saw from Brian Stratton, kind of that hybrid poke dive composition. So, I mean, there's plenty of choices for Brian Stratton to choose from. They seem very proficient in any of the above. The double bubble looked really solid, understood their win conditions on that very well. And so, I mean, for Westchester, I mean, it's CC. CC will stop can at least give you a chance at stopping any of those compositions. Pull out the cast, get the flashbang in there, get the Brig in there with the stun, do whatever you can. The halts of the Arresa combined with an accretion from a Sigma, it might be just the ticket.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a Torbjorn, throw that in there as well, could be really useful. I think Torbjorn, is a little bit underestimated for his ability to have just that turret. He also has great sustainability because he can, overload himself, gets armor for quite a bit of time, and also does a lot of damage up and close and personal with his shotgun, with his alternate fire. So being able to have that extra damage raining in, if someone tries to dive you, then you get the Cassidy Flash, the Brick Shield Bash. There's a lot that can be done just to shut someone. And then, as you said, the halt accretion combination. If you're able just to, get one person down, especially if you're able to catch out Cyber on this Winston or on the Wrecking Ball, that's all you need to stop a push from the attackers. But they need to execute it to perfection. So far, they've had good moments. They've had some really good blizzards. They've had some really good solo plays, but it just hasn't been enough to overcome the hump that currently is the attack from their opponents, from the Bobcats. So this has got to be the time, because otherwise, this is it. This will be a 3-0 victory for their opponents, and that's the championship.
Yeah, last chance. No more safety net. You've got to win 3 in a row if you're Westchester right now against what has been a very, very scary squad out of Brian Stratton. Westchester starting off on the defense, and it looks like they're just going to go back to a pharmacy variation on the dive comp.
Yeah, they tried this before on King's Row, and Echo, it runs a little bit similarly. There's a little bit of difference between Pharah and Echo. Echo can do a lot more, I would say, instantaneous damage if she gets her sticky bombs and then is able to use her focusing beam. She just melts opponents. Pharah, a lot more, I would say, just flash damage. It's just kind of like you're raining down death from above, but there is going to be Slater as well as Everlong on hit scan. Slater going to be going for the Widowmaker, Everlong on the Ash. Again, that's going to be able to shut down a pharmacy pretty easily. There, though, your target is actually going to be the Mercy, not the Pharah. You want to take out the Mercy first, that pocket is gone.
If you can, those Mercies can be so elusive. It's such a difficult shot to make. But Everlong and Slater will have their pick. And OBL being on attack gives Brian Stratton the ability to adjust to this. OBL could go to a Diva if they really wanted to, and get in the face of this Pharmercy and kind of devalue what Void is putting out. You see Cyber just going in for the supports right now after Aurelius. Aurelius is going to miss that sleep dart, but does land the anti-nade, and that's going to force Cyber to roll back, wait for that to fade, perhaps go grab a Mega. Meanwhile, the hit scans have made their way to this top left high ground. This is a dangerous spot for these double hit scans to be. You can have a Mercy Pocket to damage boost that Ashe. Cyber's going to get slept, but Slater is going to land a shot. Finishing blow comes from the Venom Mine. Actually, not something you see every day. Rock takes out Cinnamon Q, who'd gone in a little too deep. And that's going to be one and done here on Point A in Volskaya.
Yeah, and this reminds me a lot of Control Center from Lijiang Tower. There's a great fake teleporter that came through at one point here. It's the same concept. Just make them turn around and then take over the objective, take over the points. That's exactly what happened. Everyone was busy dealing with Cyber. That the positioning, like you said, for the DPS was perfect. They also took point with OBL, and now they have 5 minutes and 40 seconds to get this second point capture down. They have a Valkyrie already. Mines, as well as the Infrasights, not too far behind.
And Void switches on over to an Ashe, but YSP sticking with the Mercy to damage boost the Ashe, as opposed to trying to go to something to protect Aurelius, who's under so much pressure. Aurelius does get the nano boost out, but mines are there, and already 2 quick kills coming through as Cyber continues to punish this back line. Without the supports, there's just nothing Westchester can do. This is going to be another cap coming through, another one and done on these points, a monstrous time bank. We'll see how long YSP and Cinnamon Cube can stall. Cinnamon Cube currently waiting to respawn. YSP gets taken out by a shot from Slater. And now there's a bomb on the battlefield. Pops up bottom 500. That's going to demech them. Gravitic Flux to finish this thing off. And Brian Stratton are going to have over 4 minutes by the time this thing is done. Let's see if Felicio can get back. YSP does get the touch. The stall will continue for a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's not enough. There actually was just a ray of hope there as OBL as well as Set both fell in that encounter. They just kind of stood still. They thought it was over. The Mines able to get that elimination. Actually looks like OBL might have bumped Set into the Mines. They were sitting right on the middle of the point, but it still wasn't enough. Even with those 2 eliminations, the respawn's not there in the nick of time, and the rest of the team for Brian Stratton could follow up and finish through those last 2 attempts on the point to hold out. 4 minutes, 37 seconds, 37 seconds more than they started with. A very clean attack. All it takes now is a full hold or second point holds. Doesn't matter how it's done. Even if we go to extra rounds, they have so much time to work with. It looks like everything is Brian Stratton's pocket. Westchester, they got to come out with something we haven't seen before, and, well, this looks very similar. In fact, this is the exact same attack they tried on King's Row, and it did not work out.
Not at all. They didn't win a single team fight. But I will say the defense showing us a little bit of a different look from what we saw on Kings. Set on the Zen with Injustice on the Brig. We're giving Westchester Community College a lot of problems defending that point 8 Kings Row. Now moving over to Lucia Mercy from the looks of things. Still a little bit of time to change their mind, I suppose, but they need to get onto this defense. Cyber has yet to choose a hero. All right, coming out. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, Roadhog, the off tank, basically, which is a thick DPS. You can take control of the game if you're a Roadhog player. Like, you can just single-handedly carry if you're hitting hooks. I feel like right now, Stratton, you know, this isn't exactly what I would say the best composition you could run here, but it's probably one of the most fun. But, you know, you can't underestimate your opponent. You give them a little bit of leg room, and you never know what could happen.
Well, and OBL and Cyber have switched roles as well. Cyber has been playing the main tank and is kind of is now going over to the off tank. Maybe a little bit of memeing going on here, but I agree. You can't get let that hubris get the best of you, I guess is the best way to put that. OBL taking a lot of damage early. Void back on this Pharmercy. He's been able to get a little bit of work done, get some of those rockets in, and kind of force Brian and Stratton back. Void, there's one thing Afar can do is control the battleground a little bit, corral your opponent. Ooh, Cyber almost got that hook in. YSP, the spidey senses were good and just backed around the corner in the nick of time. But Alphan eats an arrow to the head. Everlong doing a good job of maintaining this high ground alongside Slater. It'd be very difficult to dislodge.
Cinnamon Cube's looking for an entryway, and you mentioned OBL fell very low. It's because they got slept and they were focus fired down, but that's a very healthy tank regardless. Now that's a hook, and it's very similar to what we saw in Kings Row. They just can't escape, and now it's just a Zen in a room with an entire team.
Yeah, that is the danger warning coming out for that Zenyatta. And it's Slayer with a nice volley of storm arrows. Takes Void out of the sky. That far didn't stand a chance against this insane accuracy coming out of Slater.
Yeah, that's scary. Now the Dragon Strike being thrown in, not going to be comboed of anything, but it's enough to separate bottom 500 from the rest of the team. And it's already been about 2 minutes, and it feels like they've barely even broken through the first entryway, have not gotten close to the point. Set wins the battle against Void on the Pharah. And yeah, the memory is in full swing, but regardless, they are still holding just as well as they have any other point in this game so far.
Yeah, Set's on top of the Hall of Fame. And Cyber was hanging out inside the Hall of Fame until just recently. Set up here just looking for that pharmacy drill, looking for some boops as well. You know, always fun to get some environmental kills when you're the king of sound. OBL's turn to go take the mantle up top and find. Oh no!
Oh,
Hurls
no.
themselves into the icy waters, trying to get somebody else into the drink, and it's allowed room for a couple kills to come through. Westchester Community College making a fight out of this yet. Finally take out both supports and are able to break through the front door, rotate around to the high ground, looking to chase down Cyber, but Cyber's gonna pop that whole hog in that tiny room, and the clapback is there. Everlong comes up with one. YSP has to drop this Valkyrie just to try to keep the team alive. And they've, yet to pick up anything. The hook lands. There's the final blow. And there's that carry from the hog that you're referring to.
That was a 3v6. That was OBL throwing themselves into the waters and environments of their own design on themselves. They also lost Sen. I believe they lost Everlong as well. And yet still, they're able to hold out. You never want to go against a Roadhog in a tiny room, especially when you know they have Whole Hog. That's exactly why they will just blow you all the way into a wall, blow you up. And unfortunately, that house is coming crumbling down.
Yeah, that is the classic, I'm not locked in here with them, they're locked in here with me scenario. And it's Brandon Stratton continuing to just make life very difficult. Westchester Community College, their mental has to be struggling right now. 30 seconds left, one last chance. And their best opportunity might just be behind them. They have a couple ults to work with. Let's see how they mount their final opportunity.
Yeah, it's never fun to be spawn camped by Lucio, but there are ultimates online. There's going to be 4, including a very nice Transcendence, but Void can't even get out. And they do take out Slater. Injustice still alive, so that Resurrection could come through.
Yeah, Bob on the point, given the advantage back to Brian Stratton. Bob is able to take down 70 who's forced to run in touch because of that overtime. Transcendence to do the same. Westchester Community College giving it their all, but in the end, it's Brian and Stratton standing tall, taking Volskaya, tanking the championship in a 3-0 fashion. Congratulations to them. They are the lone king on top of the mountain and your grand champions here in the NJC AAE Fall 2021 season.
Yeah, the national champions have been crowned here in the NJC AAE, and it was decisive. It looked like Control, there was definitely a fight for Westchester. They never gave up. You could see the entire time they were trying their darndest, but oh man, after Control, it was really hard for them to get anything going there, and especially on that Volskaya. I mean, there were 2 opportunities. I think it was the same thing on Lijiang Tower and there on Volskaya. They could have just played the point. Instead, they chased kills, and both times it cost them massively.
And on paper, that's you want to win that team fight. You want to try to close out those last few kills. I can understand why they chose it, but Brian and Stratton were just too good at swinging that back, at either kiting back away and drawing them into bad positions, forcing them to overextend to find those kills, or in that case on Volskaya, forcing them into a tiny room with a whole hog. Just disastrous results. But hey, round of applause, Brian and Stratton. Huge congratulations. A really, really nice game for them. Dominant performance and a well-deserved great champion victory.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to be taking a quick break, but we got an interview for you from one of the members of this Bobcat squad. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back with that interview in just a few moments.
We are here with an interview with Slater, DPS extraordinaire from Brian Stratton. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the championship.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed playing throughout the entire league, throughout Collegiate so far. It's been a lot of fun.
So we noticed that your entire squad came over from PS4 and making the transition to PC. Tell me a little bit about that transition. What'd you find to be the hardest thing moving on to PC?
A lot of it was just like we saw the game sense, but it's just getting used to mouse and keyboard and adjusting to the game. The game's a lot faster on PC than it is on
Right.
console. So like people like dive isn't a thing really on console, but on PC everybody plays dive. So it's a lot
Well, and
more
time to
fun.
kill is so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's say time to kill is
Yeah.
just a little faster too, right? So that takes some adjustment.
Yeah, and like everybody actually being pretty good at the game is a complete difference.
Yeah,
Fair.
I made that transition too, so I feel you on that one. The speed of the game is like just 10 times faster. I want to ask you guys about your season. Me and Bullskunk did have the pleasure of casting Overwatch here a little bit earlier. We didn't get to see you guys, and you came in as the number 14th seed, which seems like really an underestimation of how good you guys were, not only on paper but in actuality. So I got to ask, how did that come through, and then how did you guys get like through playoffs so dominantly?
Um, well, we were participating in a lot of leagues, so we were like transitioning forfeits, I guess you could say, because we had like matches at the same time. So we just ended up having to forfeit 2 games. Then we came in as 14th seed, which was pretty nice because people aren't really that worried about a 14th seed. So just being able to dominate and prove that we are the number one team in this bracket was really nice to see.
Wow, smurfing basically. And yeah, I remember looking at the notes. You guys, NECC, Play VS, NACE, all were in playoffs for that at the same time. So I'm sure there was a
Yeah.
lot going on. And now you can say you are champions regardless.
Yes.
My last question before I send it back to Jeff is that full Skya defensive hold. It was a full hold, but it got dicey. You guys came out with a bit of a different composition than what we had seen before. You were down, I think, 2 or 3 players as they were approaching the point, and yet still you're able to hold on. So kind of walk me through how communication was through that and how you guys were
Um,
still able to win that one out.
so basically, our ball ran off the map. Our Valking Mercy traded. They ended up resing, she died, and then our Lucio ended up dying. So it was both DPS and the Hog. Thankfully, Cyber came through. He was able to kill the Zen and the ball. Everlong was able to get another one, and then we hooked Farah, which was pretty nice. We were kind of making fun of them, like not them, but like our ball for running off the map. So the comms were kind of fluttered. And then Cyber killed two, and we were laughing because Cyber whole hogged their ball. Just, come on, it's pretty funny, Whole hogging another tank is always funny to watch.
Especially a wrecking ball in the corner. I can
Yep.
understand. Yeah, and inflating OBL a little bit for flying into the ice wires. Yeah, definitely warranted. Definitely warranted. Oh, that's fantastic. It was a great hole. I mean, it was essentially a 3v6. I like, want to come back. And then that hook onto the far was nasty. That was nasty. Any shout outs you want to give here before we let you go?
I mean, like, shout out to like the team, obviously. Like, this has been a great semester. I've enjoyed being with everybody and having the time with everybody. It's really nice to be able to like form a communication in and out of game that I haven't been able to build before. Like, shout out my family for allowing me to come to the school and being happy with me like playing esports. But yeah. Oh, and also big shout out to my coach. I have the best coach in all of anywhere. Kyle Dodd, aka Enjoyable. I cannot thank this man enough. Probably one of the best coaches you'll ever see in any industry ever.
I love it. I love it. So wholesome. Shout out to coaches. Coaches don't get enough love, right?
They really
That's
don't.
well. Thank you so much for joining us for the interview. Congratulations to you and your squad once again. Got a championship under your belt, and look forward to seeing what you got first next season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, that is going to do it here for your grand finals. Jag, any final thoughts before we close it out? Who do you think we had to pick a player of the match? Who would you pick for player of the match?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Oh, I feel
I know
like
I'm
it
putting
has
you
to
on the
be
spot. I'm sorry.
Cyber. I feel like it has to be Cyber, honestly. I feel like,
Yeah.
their performance on Main Tank was just incredible. Their Winston as well as their Wrecking Ball in particular were really good. Their Reinhardt didn't look too shabby either. I feel like everyone here really performed on this team, especially the DPS. I mean, Slater and Everlong both did really good. But for me, it's definitely going to be Cyber. It's just a monkey diff sometimes, and that was what it looked like in this series.
I gotta give a big shout out to Set as well. The Zenyatta was fantastic, and then just battling Faraz with the Lucio. Like, so I gotta give a small shout out there. But I can't argue with you, Cyber. As a main tank player, I mean, like, it's the decision making was so good, and that usually rests on the shoulders of the main tank. So yeah, I will double down with you, Cyber. You're player of the match here for these grand finals. But hey, that is going to do it for us. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Big shout out to everybody behind the scenes, Pogship and Samtir, excuse me, are your prod and observers for today. So big shout out to them for keeping Jag and myself in check. And most importantly, thank y'all for enjoying us, for watching and hanging out with us for these NJCAA finals. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a wonderful season, and y'all are looking out for each other in game and out. And we will see you in spring.